What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Duels PvP. A commentary video for a change. It's been a while, eh? It's been a while since I did a video. It's been even longer since I did a commentary, so I apologize for that. And here we are again. We've got some nice, calm and friendly duels with Kaisa here, who is a German player for Dark Souls 1, obviously. Doing a lot of PvP, he's usually a lot on Twitch and all that. So you can find him. He's not a streamer himself, but yeah. He hangs out a lot on Twitch, also on my streams mostly. Whenever I stream, he's there. And yeah, he's a really nice guy, really interesting person, really, yeah, just a nice person generally, and which is a little bit surprising considering how he gets a lot of hate from a lot of people I know. I mean, I've been talking to a few people now on different chats and also on Xbox Live, and a lot of them keep saying how they don't like him, which I cannot understand. We had it was a Sunday afternoon where we did these fights, and he fired a message my way on Xbox saying, let's have a set of duels. What do you think? What do you say? And yeah, I kind of didn't even notice he sent me a message, so it took me like an hour to respond. And I was like, oh, sorry, man, I didn't see that, but let's do that, man. Let's do that. And I had to charge up my microphone first for my Xbox, and then we had a few fights, and it was going really good. I mean, he kept killing me a few times at first because I wasn't really there yet. And yeah, well, then I decided these fights, they look pretty good, so well, maybe I should record this. I'm glad I did it because it turned out to be some really good stuff going on here, which is a good thing because now I can talk about a few things and you guys can have some fun watching this, hopefully. And yeah, we ended up having a nice voice chat while we were playing. So we weren't really 100% focusing on the fights, at least I wasn't. I believe he was also a bit distracted because we really talked a lot. We talked all the time. There was like not even a single moment where it went completely silent because we talked about so many different things. And also on top of that, he's a German player, so yeah, it was nice to have a talk in German actually, you know. It's for a change, it's really nice to talk in your own language, you know that. Well, some of you might not even understand it because English is your native language, so that's kind of, you know. But for me it was a nice change, and we talked about a lot of things, and we just had a good time. There was no salt, there was no competition, it was just having fun with the game, and it was awesome. I mean, we kept complimenting each other on, oh man, that parry was nice, or that toggle was pretty good, you know, that kind of stuff. We didn't really care who would win, who would lose, and what would you do, man, oh man, don't use turtle pokes, or, you know, anything like that. What people usually like to complain, nothing of that happened, and it was just a good time. It was awesome. So, I want to say it right away, so Kaisa, if by chance you're watching this, it was fucking awesome, man. It was great. We should do that again. Hopefully we can do it again. A few more things about Kaisa though, if you're watching this, and like I said, this is not a competition. This is not trying to find out who's better, who's worse, who's the best player, whatever. He can play very different from this. He told me that he knows I don't like to fight the, you know, Mask of the Mother, full triad, full hollow playstyle. And so he said, why would I ask you for duels and then give you that kind of crap, because I know you don't like it, I know you're not gonna enjoy it, what would be the point of it? So instead he tuned it down a little bit, and so did I. I mean, I can play that triad playstyle. Not as good as others, because I usually don't do it, but I can do it, but if I get the choice, then I wouldn't really do it. So he stepped it down a little bit, I stepped it down a little bit, and we just had a good time. He also didn't use his mother mask, which he usually does, admittedly. And yeah, he's a lot on Twitch, like I said, and he's like kind of trying to hunt for the tryhards and always looking for them, because he's just like me. He just likes to fight better players. and he will always say of himself that he's not good, but I don't know, he's not bad either, because I've seen bad players, we all have seen bad players, and I think at this point it's safe to say that pretty much everybody who's still playing this game on a more regular basis is at least decent or pretty good. I mean, still, at this point, even at this point, you still meet the R1 spammers stacking a shit ton of poise, and I don't know, that the concept of parrying somebody it seems to be completely new to them, and actually that was a really nice parry. Damn. Fucking hell, that was sweet. But yeah, back to the point. Yeah, I really like fighting better players. That's also the main reason why I can actually enjoy fighting like those Mother Mask players, because most of them, not all of them, most of them are really good. They know what they're doing. They know the rules. They know what's up, and it's always fun, regardless of how your opponent plays or how my opponent plays. I can still enjoy it to a certain extent as long as I know he's a good player. And I can go all out. I don't have to hold back. I can throw everything at him that I have. Actually, that one hurt really bad. It was an instability hit there. Caught in mid-roll. Yeah. So I do enjoy these kind of fights, but this right here, this is more my thing, where it's not really about punishing everything that you can with a backstab. You will see that we both will not use every single opportunity that we can to get a backstab in there, because it's not his. Well, it's actually his style, but not in these fights. Like I said, he stepped it down a little bit. And for those of you who've been following my channel for a while, you should know that it's never been my style. It never will be my style. I can play like that, but I decide not to. And yeah, I think I'm gonna keep it that way. But in case you haven't heard yet, Bloodborne has been delayed a little bit by, I believe, 6 weeks, about 6 weeks. So that gives me a little bit more time to play this game. And who knows, maybe we will all come back to it once again, if Bloodborne turns out to be shit, which I hope is not gonna happen. And this brings me back to what I said very, very, very early on one of my Dark Souls 2 videos. It was on the Honor Duels video with a Ninja Seal back then, which I was hoping to turn into a video series, but then I lost interest in Dark Souls 2 PvP for obvious reasons. So what I said basically back then was kind of a cliffhanger, because I talked about something that would be a little bit worrying with regards to Dark Souls 2 PvP, and that was actually Bloodborne. Because if you think about it, we had Dark Souls 1 for how long? For how long did we have it? It was 2.5 years. About 2.5 years we had Dark Souls before Dark Souls 2 came, at least for consoles, right? And people were playing that game until the last day before Dark Souls 2 was released. I know I was doing PvP in the Berg on the last evening before Dark Souls 2 came out. And yeah, it was just the community was developing over time. People were getting better at the game, developing techniques, developing their skills, everything. We had some really cool people on YouTube getting their channels big and all that. And people were cheering him up and like, oh shit, how can you be so good? And the last few days we had so many people who were really that good at the game. It was just a good time, always. It was always a good time, and I always had the feeling that Dark Souls 2 would never ever get the chance to, to get there. Because if you think about it, Bloodborne will be released about 1 year after Dark Souls 2 was originally released. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Dark Souls 1 PvP took more than a year to actually develop into something that was maybe halfway competitive. So my biggest fear was that Dark Souls 2, regardless of how unbalanced or how sluggish, or whatever you want to use, whatever words you want to use to describe Dark Souls 2 PvP. That of course only is targeted at the people who don't enjoy Dark Souls 2 PvP. If you like Dark Souls 2 PvP, that's fine, don't mind any of this, because play whatever you want, as long as you're having fun, it's the better game for you, right? And yeah, I believe that Dark Souls 2 PvP will never get the chance to be that good. It's never going to happen, because the game simply doesn't have the time. The community doesn't have the time to get there. And I really hope that Bloodborne will have the traditional PvP still, because we don't have a lot of news and a lot of details on it yet, on how it's going to work. But yeah, we'll see about that in the future. It's like 4 months now. It's not even that long anymore. And that's what I was talking about before. Dark Souls 2 will never even get the time to evolve, to get there where Dark Souls 1 is. And I do believe that even if it had the time to get there, it kinda never would, because it just doesn't have what it takes to get there. It's more basic, it's more about actual combat and all that, and that's okay. If you think about it, that's basically what a lot of the really so-called tryhards do. It's a lot more about very basic PvP, about spacing, about timing. I know those famous 2 words, but it's actually true. You see, if you've been following some of the people on Twitch, or maybe on YouTube also, like Shycast for example, you will notice a lot of experimentation recently with different weapons. Like I'm using the halberd right now, for example. The halberd is a very, very difficult weapon to use against a really good player, because it's easily punished. And for a competitive player, it would never be an option, but you actually see some of those people using a halberd recently. Probably because they're getting bored too. At some point you just can't stay strong. You just have to do something else, because at the end of the day it's still a video game and you want to have fun with it, and I don't know, you just gotta do different things every now and then. And the halberd is the best example to get to the point here, because the halberd, you will need good timing for that. You will need really good spacing and prediction for that, because if you attack just however you feel like, oh, I'm just gonna do an R1 now, you're gonna get backstab right away. You're gonna roll backstab or just poise backstab. It's gonna happen, and it's a bit sad. It's one of the things that I really don't like about Dark Souls 1. But backstabs are very, very easy to pull off, and they can happen so fast, especially with latency and all that. And speaking of backstabs, look at that right there. He could have gone for a backstab there, but he didn't. Like I said, we're stepping it down a little bit here. We're just trying to have fun. There's no need to rush to the victory. Right? We're just having fun, having some good fights, maybe trying out new things, all that. So yeah, back to the point. The so-called try-hard PvP is for the most part very basic, because it's about actually fighting and paying attention and just playing good. And you don't really have to do all these crazy things like reverse rolls and dead angles and whatnot. I mean, it's part of the game, sure, but if you're playing it very basic, you already have a good chance of beating most of those people, as long as you're not getting greedy, as long as you're paying attention and all that. It's okay. You can beat. I can beat those people. I've probably beaten everybody by now at least once, just with my very basic playstyle. So it's definitely possible. I'm not saying I'm better than them. Hell no. I mean, I've invaded back then. I've invaded Saber. I mean, a lot of people know Saber. He's very, very, very good. He used to be very good back then when he played, and I invaded him twice. He beat me once. I beat him once. Am I better than him? Am I as good as him? Fuck no. He is so above me. I know that. And what I'm trying to say is that a single win doesn't mean anything. Just because you beat somebody once, it doesn't mean anything. You have to beat somebody like a million of times, and they lose all the time against you, and then you can say, yeah, I'm better than that person. But this whole thing about I'm better than you, you're better than me has never been any concern for me. And I think that with this very basic playstyle that I was trying to get at here, and I kind of lost my point there for a moment, I'm sorry about that, got a bit distracted, but yeah, that's how I've always been, got my thoughts all over the place, and it's been even worse recently. That's also why I kind of hesitated to do the commentary, because something else has been in my mind, something else, or somebody else has been the center of my attention recently. But yeah, this doesn't belong here, so it's all good. And now I lost my point. Great, wonderful. Also, I haven't been doing a commentary in a while, so you gotta cut me some slack here. I need to get back into it for a little bit. Hopefully I can do the next video a little bit faster. I want to try and get a little bit faster with my uploads again. Can't promise anything, because what I'm planning to do is get maybe a little bit more sessions of duels with actually good players in here, like this one. This was actually perfect, because I was planning to do a series of videos like the honor duels that I wanted to do for Dark Souls 2, only on Dark Souls 1 now, with good players, or at least decent players. I know some people will disagree and say this is not a good player, blah 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 blah, whatever. They're good players for me, so I'm just gonna call them good players, and basically not randoms, you know, because I've done enough of those videos by now, those montages with a little bit of fancy music and all that, and I just keep doing like toggle, parry, ring swap thingies, and that's all nice and good, but at the end of the day it's style over substance, basically, because killing randoms with fancy techniques, there's nothing to it. I mean, gang spanks are fun, but we've seen it so many times by now, and I think this would be the right way to go for me. My channel has never been about super flashy gameplay where I just keep killing everybody. I know some people like to make that kind of video, and the reactions are always funny when the fanboys are going against each other there. Like, oh, this is the best player in the world, did you see that parry, and he did that toggle there, and that super menu swap, and have you seen that? Your YouTuber cannot do that, but my YouTuber can do it. He's so much better. Yeah, that's not what I want to have on my channel, actually. I like to include losses every now and then. I like to include things where I get wrecked in a good way, in a good manner. I mean, if you've been paying attention to the gameplay here, I hope you have. You will have noticed that it's not only my wins here, it's also a few fights where Kaisa wins. And I will say that the majority of these fights I won, but once again, it doesn't mean anything. First of all, I don't care anyways, because for me this was just fighting somebody who's awesome, somebody who's good at the game, and somebody who really gave me a nice time just with these really cool fights. And actually, I missed the backstab there. That was also one of the topics that we talked about. How I just don't backstab as much as I could, and he was kind of getting at me there, dude, just get the backstab, man. I don't care. It's okay. You can have it. You can have it, man. I don't mind it. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll try, man. I will try to get the backstab. But it's just so counterintuitive for me at this point to backstab somebody. It's just not getting into my head at this point. Like, oh, I could backstab him. And the funny thing is, I don't mind doing it against randoms, but when I fight friends, or just generally people that I know. Oh well, no, not people that I know. I know a lot of people, and a lot of them are tryhards, and I don't mind backstabbing them because they know, they expect me to do that. It's part of the game at that point. But like these duels with friends, I just, if I get an exposed back into my face, the first thing I'm thinking of is not a backstab. It really isn't, and he was kind of getting at me there, like, dude, get the backstab already. You can do that, man. I don't care. It's okay, dude. I'm not gonna be salty at it. So, yeah. Let's get back to the point of Bloodborne and Dark Souls 2 PvP. Like I said, try hard PvP. Despite the fact that you have backstabs, chain backstabs, backstab escapes, and the various counters to almost everything except for backstab escapes, which kind of cannot be escaped as far as I know. You cannot prevent getting backstabbed after somebody pulls a backstab escape on you and they know what they're doing. They will always get you backstabbed because you don't have backstab immunity frames out of the backstab animation, and that kind of is gonna screw you over at that point. But other than that, I think pretty much everything has a counter to it in this game, and yeah, you need to know about these things, otherwise you're not gonna be able to beat these players. However, if you have a very basic playstyle and you're very good, just being good at, you know, watching your back, quite literally, then you have a good chance of beating these players, even without the technical knowledge and all that. Because at a certain point, it's about very basic combat, you know. Not trying to be too flashy, not trying to be too fancy, because it's not gonna work against these type of players anyways. Don't try to toggle parry them or anything. Don't, because it's not gonna work. And I think this is the kind of gameplay that you also get for Dark Souls 2 PvP. It's very basic because you don't have all these techniques and all these jab trickery, as some people like to say. And because of that, I do think that Dark Souls 2 doesn't really have a lot of room to improve. And I don't know, I just cannot get rid of this feeling that they knew it. They didn't want to make Dark Souls PvP to last very long. They were kind of looking at Bloodborne when they made Dark Souls 2, I think. I think that was the whole plan. It was just Dark Souls 2, as cruel as it may sound, but I believe Dark Souls 2 was just a way to get a little bit more money. So, in the meantime, while they were developing Bloodborne, they could get a bit more money with a sequel. Call me a hater if you want to, but I think that's how it is, and it's a bit sad, actually. I'm not saying the game is bad, I'm not saying the game is half-assed or anything. I mean, they were a bit lazy with a lot of things, with the lore and everything, and with the game design and some of the bosses, or most of the bosses and all that stuff, but yeah. I don't know. I just can't get rid of this feeling that Dark Souls 2 was only there to fill in the gap and to make a little bit more money in the meantime. And I think we're already at the last clip here. I wanted to talk about more things. As always, I keep getting distracted, but the people who've been with my channel for a while should know this by now. I can never stay focused on one point when I'm trying to talk about things. I will try to get that Dark Souls 2 PvP video out really soon. So maybe within the next 1 or 2 weeks. And yeah, like I said, it was something that I wanted to do for a while. On Dark Souls 2 PvP, it was kind of a test that I was interested in and seeing how it goes, and it will probably be my last Dark Souls 2 video. I wanted to do more cosplays for Toho, but I don't know, maybe I will get the motivation to do that. We'll see. Anyways, this is the end of the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, hope it was fun to watch, and I will be very glad to see you on the next one.